Sorry it has been so long since I've made a video. It just seems like it is more and more difficult to find the time. Now, since the Oilers have been plodding along, basically playing .500 hockey since their 1-4 start, the Chiarelli haters are coming out of the woodwork, and they are loud and proud.
You're killing this team.
Despite the tweet I sent out earlier in response to his comments regarding the team, I am not in that camp. If you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know that I'm a big fan of Peter Chiarelli. Now, he has made some poor moves in his time as manager of the Oilers, but there seems to be a group of people that think that it's exclusive only to him, that he's the only general manager that makes any poor roster decisions. Now, much like I did earlier in the season, I'm going to use a different team as an example. Let's look at Flames general manager Brad Treliving. In my opinion, he is an excellent general manager. He's been with the Flames for 3.5 years so far. In that time, he has upgraded the team's defense significantly, adding Dougie Hamilton, Travis Hamonic, and Michael Stone, all via trades where the Flames didn't give up a roster player. He signed Michael Frolik to a 5-year, $21 million deal in the summer of 2015 that has helped solidify the team's second line, along with Michael Backlund and Matthew Tkachuk. Speaking of Tkachuk, Treliving drafted him 6th overall in 2016, and he has quickly become a key contributor for their team. Not only does he bring offense, he also brings a lot of energy and agitates the opposition. He locked up Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan to very reasonable 6-year contracts, securing the Flames' star players for the foreseeable future. Under his watch, the team has made the playoffs twice and currently holds a divisional spot in the Western Conference. He also led the Flames to their first playoff series win in 11 years in the spring of 2015. That's a pretty solid body of work in 3 years' time. However, Treliving has also done all of the following. He signed Troy Brouwer to an albatross 4-year, $18 million deal. Brouwer has scored 28 points in 92 games with the Flames so far. With the Flames' highest ever draft pick, he selected Sam Bennett 4th overall in 2014. Bennett's career has been trending in the wrong direction for the last 2 years. Treliving grabbed him ahead of both William Nylander and Nikolai Ehlers. He waived Paul Byron, who has gone on to become an effective penalty killer for the Canadiens, as well as putting up 22 goals for them last year. And last but not least, he has turned over the goaltending in Calgary year after year, finally settling on Mike Smith and Eddie Lack. Now, I know the early returns on Smith have been positive, but due to Smith's age, injury history, and the fact that Treliving increased the team's salary and gave up assets to acquire him, I think this was an unnecessary and risky move. Treliving, just like Chiarelli and every other manager in the league, has made some mistakes from time to time. Now, having said that, I don't believe that the Oilers roster is deeply flawed. That's not to absolve Chiarelli of any guilt, but I think that the main issue is that the players are not being utilized properly. And this seems to be a communication breakdown between Chiarelli and McLellan. First of all, I don't think Peter Chiarelli overpaid Draisaitl this past summer to have an $8.5 million right winger for Connor McDavid. He already had an overpaid Jordan Eberle on the right side, and he shipped him out. He signed him because of his ability to make his own wingers better. In overtime, sure, throw them out there together and let the magic happen. But during periods 1 through 3, break them up, for crying out loud. What I've noticed is that Draisaitl just seems to coast along, letting McDavid do the hard work. Seriously, anybody could score these goals. McLellan needs to challenge Leon to be a leader. Secondly, I don't think Peter Chiarelli traded Jordan Eberle, who is a top 6 winger, for Ryan Strome just to bury him on the third line. And he is buried there. When you load up your top 6 with 6 of your 7 best forwards, you're hanging one guy out to dry. I fail to see, especially with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins playing the best hockey of his career, why you wouldn't run 3 centers deep. It's the strength of your team. This is just my opinion, but if I was an opposing coach, I would find it much more difficult to deploy my defense if I knew that McDavid, Draisaitl, or Hopkins would be on the ice for 80% of the game. Other player deployment mistakes that he's made this year include having Milan Lucic on the ice in overtime against Phil Kessel and Evgeny Malkin, and starting Talbot again against the Jets after he was pulled in Vancouver and Brissois had played very well in relief. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Todd McLellan a lot. I think he's a good coach, and I think he's a really nice guy. Sometimes too nice of a guy. Going back to the playoff series against the Ducks last year, there were several blatant incorrect calls that swung things in Anaheim's favor. In my opinion, McLellan's unwillingness to call the referees out, combined with Randy Carlyle's willingness to call them out, directly impacted the result of that series. That trend has continued into this season. I know the Oilers scored here, but the ref's arm needs to go up. Maybe if McLellan says something in that instance, this one against the Capitals is called, and the Oilers likely win that game. The team's system has also failed them numerous times. McLellan has stated in numerous interviews that he wants the D jumping up in the play. Early in the season, I thought Klefbom was just running around like a chicken with his head cut off, but as time has gone on, and I've seen Nurse and Benning make ill-advised pinches as well, I've come to realize this is a coaching issue. When your team is struggling to get points in the standings, you simply cannot have your defense pinching in on 50-50 pucks and plays when you are leading or the game is tied. The Oilers have been repeatedly burned by this all year. It's fine to be aggressive, but when you have a 1-goal lead or are tied, there's nothing wrong with easing up and just getting it to overtime. Once the Oilers go to OT, I don't even really count that as a loss. You came into the game with a certain amount of points and you left with one more. In today's NHL, it's more like a half win. And finally,
you know what really grinds my gears?
The power play. I could seriously do an entire series of videos on this topic, but instead I'm just going to rant here for a few minutes. The Oilers' power play has a grand total of 4 plays that they run. The first unit has 2. McDavid is the quarterback on this unit. He will either send the puck down low to his buddy Leon Draisaitl, who will then quickly shovel a pass in front of the net to Milan Lucic. This play has hardly been available this year. If that is not available to him, McDavid will send the puck cross seam to Mark Letestu, who will one-time it at the net. This play also has hardly been there this year, aside from probably the overtime game against Chicago. If neither of these plays are available to this unit, they seem perfectly content to simply pass the puck around for a minute and 15 seconds or until they can get a whistle and the second unit can come out. The second unit also has 2 plays. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is on the right half wall, and he will either drop the puck on his backhand to Chris Russell, who will one-time a shot, usually wide of the net, or it gets blocked. No idea why he's on the power play. If that play isn't there, if that defender has not followed Nuge down towards the net, he will send the pass cross seam to Ryan Strome. The issue there is Strome shoots right, so he has to cradle this pass before sending a shot at the net. Now, if me, as a casual fan who watches the games half the time PVR'd, so I'm just watching from whistle to whistle, I'm not even seeing any replays, if I can pick up on the fact that the Oilers are only running these 4 plays, do you think maybe other teams can? Of course they can. They have a video guy whose sole responsibility is to study the other team's tendencies. Now, if it were up to me, I would do something like this. Back in 2006, the Oilers used to run a 5-man power play unit of Jarrett Stoll, Sean Horkoff, Alish Hemsky, and Ryan Smith in front of the net, as well as Chris Pronger on the point. Now, generally for the first 30 seconds of this power play, Pronger and Stoll would simply pass the puck back and forth, looking for some sort of development in the play. When none made itself available to them, what they would do is they would swap sides, and this made them extremely dangerous. I don't know why they wouldn't start the power play this way, because Stoll shot right, Pronger shot left. So when you're moving this puck back and forth, the penalty killers need to respect the fact that not only can you pass the puck back, you can also one-time a shot. So they've got to be on their toes. They have to move quickly from side to side. Everyone has to shift over, even the goaltender. This makes you so much more dangerous when you're able to one-time the puck, having your stick face open to give you that option. I do not, for the life of me, understand why the Oilers went out in the offseason and acquired Ryan Strome sort of to replace Jordan Eberle, when one of the sole issues with Eberle was when he would get the puck on the right half wall, he would dust it off before firing it. Now, rather than have Strome over here, who's capable of one-timing the puck, they've got him over on this side. And I mean, last night was the only time that worked for them. You can't have that once in every 20 games that the play works for you. And the bottom line for me with the Oilers' power play is that if you can have a unit with Connor McDavid on it and he is almost useless, there is a serious fundamental problem with your power play strategy. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, I know some people won't agree, McClellan has refused to make in-season and in-game adjustments. The Oilers' issues are not with the makeup of their roster, it's their inability to deploy their players properly and use an effective strategy that fits those players. I'd love to know what you think. Leave your comments below, and I'll see you next time.